The Double Standards Pesticides Campaign urges the South African government to ban 67 hazardous pesticides already banned in the EU due to health and environmental risks. Initiated by the Women on Farms project in 2019, the campaign is supported by various organizations, academics and unions. And for more on this, we are now joined by Dr. Kara Mackay, the campaign's coordinator for Women on Farms projects, to tell us more about this campaign. Dr. Kara, thank you so much for your time this evening here in SABC News. Perhaps let's start off here. These pesticides in which you want to see them banned being used by some farmers in South Africa. Maybe just tell us, how hazardous are these pesticides?
Well, thank you very much for having me on the Full View tonight. I look forward to the discussion. Pesticides are designed to kill. That's what they're meant to do. They are toxic. They are toxic when swallowed. They cause cancer. That is their role. So these pesticides by design are always going to be dangerous, are always going to be toxic. They affect women's reproductive organs. They affect the liver. They affect the skin, and they affect their health. And with the deteriorating health, they also affect women's employment and how they can care for their children.
And what has prompted then this campaign? I mean, 67 pesticides, that is a lot. And, you know, when it comes to this campaign in which you're running, to see them removed from our farms, what then prompted you to get underway and begin with this campaign?
What prompted us is a desire for justice in post-apartheid, and Women on Farms project acknowledged that farm women, because of the apartheid racial structure, find themselves right at the bottom of that hierarchy. So Women on Farms project works with farm women, and we've noticed inside on farms is the complete normalization of pesticide use. It's at the moment, because the Department of Employment and Labour are not issuing compliance or ensuring compliance, it's actually an option for farmers to decide if they're going to use pesticide protection and which measures they're going to put in place. So not only are farm workers and farm women in particular, because they are the backbone of agriculture, not only are they working with highly hazardous pesticides that have already been banned in the EU, but they're doing so without proper protection. There's no training, information protocols are just not in place. So that is an injustice, and as Women on Farms project and as women, we refuse to accept that reality.
And Dr. Kara, maybe if you can just give us an insight into some of the cases that you have witnessed. How has this affected some of the women you are representing?
So it's important to note that we know that there are 222. In 2004, there were 222 pesticides that Europe was banned. But to understand which of those pesticides are being used on farms was a lot harder than we thought, because there's no information. Even the Department of Agriculture, there's no public registry on what pesticides are being used. If you want to gain that access, you have to become a member of CropLife, which is the pesticide lobby. And then from the bottom up also, we found that even though legally farm workers are entitled to this information, there is secrecy, intimidation, and they're not being told what is being sprayed. And they're not given all this information, the schedule, etc. So we asked women, what are they spraying on your farms? And in this context, the one name that came back was Dormix. So Dormix is made by Alschem, which is a German company. Its active ingredient is cyanamide, which had lost its approval in Europe in 2008. And Dormix is toxic. It is presumed to be carcinogenic, and it affects the reproductive system. It can affect the unborn child, and what women are experiencing is their skins are damaged, their eyes, they're losing, it damages their eyes, and also their lungs are badly affected. And if I may, it's also important to note that when a woman loses her health, she loses her ability to earn income, and that is her income is what sustains the family. And many women are single mothers. So if a single mother doesn't have a source of income, what becomes of her? What becomes of her children?
Certainly, Dr. Kara. And one would then ask, when it comes to this campaign. It has been running now for at least 6 years. And, what has been government's attitude towards some of the issues you have highlighted when it comes to the pesticides being used on some farms?
Government, let's start with the Department of Agriculture. Our first level is the Department of Agriculture. That's the first place because they register the pesticides. And so we're saying switch it off at the tap, stop the pesticides from being registered, and then all these knock-on effects will not happen. So Women on Farms project is also part of the South African People's Tribunal on Agrotoxins. And as the tribunal, we sent a letter to Minister Steenhuisen calling for the immediate ban of turbifos after the children from Naledi and Soweto died. And we wrote him a 16-page letter, and we were very disappointed to see that his response in 2 pages, he basically said no, he will not ban turbifos because, and he cited food security as the reason. So we're very, very disappointed with that response, and we find that the change is slow going. And we would like for the Department of Agriculture to do more and accept responsibility for pesticides, which they clearly are not regulating and is causing great harm, not only to farm workers, but also to poor black children in South Africa.
All right, Dr. Kara, thank you so much for your time. That's Dr. Kara Mackay. She's from the campaigns coordinator for Women on Farms projects, telling us more about those 67 pesticides. Of course, they are calling for government to remove them and have them removed from our country's farms, but at the same time saying that they've made an appeal to the government, but of course saying that some of these pesticides, the responses that they have received, really their calls have fallen on deaf ears. But of course they will continue with that fight stemming from at least now 2019, trying to have these pesticides removed.